Good morning. Anybody online? Anybody online?
Sir.
Morning. Good morning. So today we will start another topic, the last part of the Justice chapter. So this picture will tell you about the recollection of the lymphatic drainage of the testis, because the metastasis and the spread of the tumor, not only the testis, anywhere the tumor, the spread is very important to get the clearance of the disease. So the testicular lymphatics, they drain to the para-aortic lymph nodes on either side, right side and left side. The coverings of the testis and the lymphatics that drain the vas, they go to the iliac lymph nodes. And the scrotal skin drains to the inguinal lymph nodes. This is only for recollection. So can we recognize this tumor? The specimen is the testis because it is hanging from the card above and it has been bisected, and you see a well demarcated homogeneous mass seminome. Here the bisection shows variegated appearance of the substance. Somewhere it is white, somewhere it is pinkish in color with spaces, etc. This is the classical picture of the teratomas. Because of the multiple types of tissues it has got, the appearance will be variegated, different and different. Coming to the introduction of the tumors of the testis, the first point is they occur in early age groups, 30 years and 40 years, relatively early for development of the malignancies. So any testicular enlargement in this age group should lead to suspicion of the tumors. First point you must remember. Second one is, if you diagnose any testicular tumor, it is malignant. Don't diagnose benign tumors in the testis. Always 99% of the testicular tumors are malignant. Benign tumors are very, very rare. So don't diagnose benign conditions in the testicular tumors. Third point is they develop from the germ cells. Majority of them are developed from the germ cells. Again, there are so many types, we will discuss it later. They develop from the germ cells in the testis. Next point is they present clinically in a different way. The commonest things we diagnose in the scrotum are hydrocele, hernias, or hydrocele, epidermolysis, all these things. In the midst of these all benign conditions, we are very, very likely to miss the malignancies. So always cautious while examining any scrotal swelling. Be cautious to rule out malignancy. The risk factors for development of testicular tumors are already we discussed in the last classes. Testicular mal-descent, incompletely descended testes is the first risk factor for malignancies, because these incompletely descended testes are immature. They have not developed, they have not matured completely. So immature tissue is there in tumor in the testes, so the risk of malignancy is more. Whereas ectopic testes, only the problem is the site. They are present in a different site, but they are well developed, so the risk of malignancy is less. If the young man previously has got testicular tumor on one side, again it is a risk factor. He can develop testicular tumor on the other side also. Then genetic abnormalities, Klinefelter syndrome, XXY. So these people have got high risk of developing germ cell tumors. Of course, the testis will be atrophied, and these germ cell tumors they develop outside the testis. Mediastinal germ cell tumor. Extragenital germ cell tumors are more common in people with Klinefelter syndrome. 47XXY extra chromosome is there. Etiology can be divided into environmental factors and genetic factors. These environmental factors are investigated by doing population migration studies, by studying the people who migrate from country to country and develop the local diseases like that. So these genital tumors are associated with testicular dysgenesis syndrome, which consists of cryptorchidism, already we said, the undescended testis, hypospadiasis, and poor sperm quality. All these three characteristics are called as testicular dysgenesis syndrome, which is a risk factor, environmental risk factor for the development of testicular valliculations. Genetic factors, the family members, the fathers and sons are affected more than the normal population, and the risk is still more high, 8 to 10 times higher in brothers, kids and kins of the patients. The cause for this genetic predisposition are defects in the hyperfunctioning of these genetic loci, KIT and BAT. So the overactivity of this KIT gene will will stimulate the multiplication of these stem cells or the embryonic cell rests which are present in the gonads, leading to development of the tumors. Coming to the classification and pathology of these tumors, they are classified according to their predominant cellular type. According to the type of cell the tumor is having, they are classified. The primitive classification, more important classification is germ cell tumors, non-germ cell tumors, or connective tissue tumors. So germ cell tumors constitute 90 to 95% of these testicular tumors. They are again divided into two types, seminomas and non-seminomatous tumors. Previously, we used to call them as teratomas, seminomas and teratomas. So now the teratomatous tumors are differently called as non-seminomatous tumors. In the non-seminomatous tumors, you have got different types of carcinomas. Of course, you have got the teratoma also in these non-seminomatous tumors. Other types of tumors are embryonal cell carcinomas, yolk sac tumors, and choriocarcinomas. So these embryonal cell yolk sac and choriocarcinomas, they produce what are called as tumor markers, like beta HCG, like alpha glucoprotein, etc., which will help you in the diagnosis and management of these tumors. Non-germ cell tumors constitute interstitial cell tumors, Leydig cell tumors, Sertoli cell tumors, and other general tumors like lymphomas and other tumors also can occur. They are very rare in the testis. So primarily the classification consists of germ cell tumors, seminomas, non-seminomatous tumors, and interstitial cell tumors. The cell of origin of these testicular carcinomas. Seminomatous tumors are composed of cells that resemble primordial germ cells or early gonocytes. So in seminomas, the seminomas develop from the cells resembling primordial germ cells or spermatogonia. Primordial germ cells, these are germ cells. They are called as primordial when they are present near the notochord. In their place of origin, they develop from the notochord, the place of dorsal streak or notochord. When they are present at that place, they are called as primordial germ cells. When they migrate and reach the gonads, the testis as well as the ovary, they are called as gonocytes, early gonocytes. In men, they are called as spermatogonia. In ovaries, they are called as oocytes. The name changes, same cell, name changes. So if they develop from, the tumor develops from such cells, it is called as seminomas. Non-seminomatous tumors, they develop from embryonic stem cells, still undifferentiated cells. They are called as stem cells. These stem cells are present in various parts of the body. One of these site is the gonads. So tumor develops from such undifferentiated stem cells. They are called as non-seminomatous tumors. So these cells can develop, can differentiate along many lineages. They can become embryonal carcinomas, they can become yolk sac tumors, they can become choriocarcinomas or teratomas. So they can develop into one of these types. Coming to the seminoma, the gross appearance of seminoma is testis will be enlarged, it will be smooth, and the shape of the testis will be maintained. The tumor, however big it is, it maintains the shape of the oval and smooth shape of the testis. Cut section shows homogeneous and pinkish cream in color. The first you have seen, the first picture you have seen, a homogeneous and pinkish cream colored substance in the testis, compressing the neighboring testicular tissues. So pure seminoma will be homogeneous and pinkish cream in color. If it has got another type of tumor like embryonal carcinoma or upside carcinoma, such areas they will be present as hemorrhagic spots or necrotic areas. So seemingly seminoma on cut section shows some hemorrhagic areas, etc. We must suspect a mixed type of tumor. Seminoma containing other types of cells, carcinomas. So this is a pure seminoma. You can see the homogeneous appearance, pinkish in color or tan colored or pinkish in color tumor. Normal tissue is compressed to on one side. Histology consists of cells will resemble spermatocytes. Already we said it develops from the spermatocyte. So the cells resemble spermatocytes. And there will be lymphatic infiltration also. This lymphatic infiltration says there is good immune response to the tumor and prognosis will be better than other varieties. And there can be anaplastic variants also. More de-differentiated tumors can also be there. They will show tumor giant cells and more mitotic activity. If it is a mixed type of tumor, in 15% it is possible, then they secrete the hormones or beta HCG, human chorionic gonadotrophin, will be identified if it is a mixed type of tumor. It acts as a tumor marker. In 30% of the seminomas, tumor markers can be identified. Histologically, two variants are there, like classical, typical seminoma and more differentiated, more normal spermatocytic seminoma. You can see the pictures here. The first one is low power view. Here and there you see the septa, fibrous septa. Entire tumor is occupied by the dots, nucleus of the cells, tumorous cell, which resemble the spermatocytes. High power view, you can see an individual cell, a large clear cell with a big nucleus having a nucleolus. Large clear cell, big nucleus having a nucleolus. So the small dot in the nucleus is the nucleus is nucleolus. All these cells they resemble the spermatocytes, and these smaller ones are the lymphocytes. Smaller ones are the lymphocytes infiltrating the tumor, and this is the vessel, capillary, where you should see the RBCs inside. vessels with RBC, lymphocytes, and these are the tumorous cells. The classical seminoma cell will be large and round to polyhedral with distinct cell membrane, clear or watery appearing cytoplasm, large central nucleus with one or two prominent acidophilic nucleoli. You can see the nucleoli within the nucleus. Immunohistochemistry differentiates, says seminoma cells will stain positively for these genes, KIT gene and OCT4 gene. These are the genes which produce the membrane receptors. Tyrosine kinase membrane receptors are coded by these genes. If these genes are overactive, if they become overactive, they produce more amount of these receptors, which will stop the apoptosis of the cells. Programmed cell depth of the cells will be stopped, and they stimulate these cells to proliferate haphazardly, resulting in tumor development. And they also stain for placental alkaline phosphatase also. A few scattered keratin positive cells may also be present. These are all the tumor markers in the tumor which can be identified by the immunohistochemistry methods. Seminomas spread via lymphatics. Primarily, they spread via lymphatics. Hematogenous is very rare, uncommon. Commonly, they go to the para-aortic lymph nodes near the origin of the gonadal vessels. Sometimes, contralateral para-aortic nodes are also involved. If the tumor is on the right side, usually right-sided nodes are involved. Sometimes, the left nodes also get involved. If the tumor infiltrates, if the tumor gets attached to the skin of the scrotum, then the inguinal lymph nodes also get involved. That is a dangerous sign. Involvement of the inguinal lymph nodes, which will damage the femoral artery, leading to hemorrhage. Then the second type of tumor is non-seminomatous germ cell tumors, previously called as teratomas. The size of these teratomas is very variable. They can be very tiny, not distorting the tunica. So the testicular size will be normal. If you do ultrasound for some reason, some other reason, or depending on other clinical manifestations you have diagnosed, you have suspected testicular tumor, and do the ultrasound examination, you may see a small focus in the substance of the testis. So such smaller will be these tumors, or they can be very large. They can reach the size of a coconut also, very big tumors. The size is very variable. On cut section, the teratoma shows yellowish in color with cystic spaces containing gelatinous fluid. So this is not uniform, just like seminoma. Seminoma, it is very uniform. Here it is different. The colors will be different. The consistency of the substance will be different. You can see cystic areas here and there, all variegated teratomas. There are a number of histological types of non-seminomatous tumors. Already I said embryonal, yolk sac, choriocarcinomas, and teratoma. Number of varieties of non-seminomatous tumors are there. They can be pure, or all types can coexist within a single tumor. Different types of all the types of tumorous tissues can be present at a single place. Types of NHCT, embryonal carcinoma, which is highly malignant tumor that occasionally invade cord structure that can grow along the spermatic cord, presenting as inguinoscrotal swelling. You can have the yolk sac tumor, which produces the alpha-fetoprotein as tumor marker. Choriocarcinoma produces human chorionic gonadotrophin. This is highly malignant tumor. This is highly malignant tumor metastasizes via lymphatics and bloodstream. There are certain malignancies in the body which are highly malignant, meaning they spread to the body, entire body, within a matter of days or weeks, few weeks, and kill the patient. Such tumor, one of such tumors is choriocarcinoma, highly malignant. It is called as hurricane tumor. In testicular tumors, it is called as hurricane tumor that is highly malignant. Another examples of highly malignant tumors are the inflammatory carcinoma of the breast. Inflammatory carcinoma of the breast is also highly malignant. Next, the malignant melanomas. Malignant melanomas. Wilms tumor. These are all highly malignant tumors which will spread to entire body within few days or weeks, 1 or 2 weeks, and kill the patient. And they do not respond to any type of treatment. No surgery, no radiation, no chemotherapy. Ultimately, the patient has to succumb. So, choriocarcinoma is highly malignant tumor which produces beta HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin profile, which can be identified as a tumor model. And teratoma is also one which contains more than one cell type. When there are derivatives of more than 2 germinal layers, you can diagnose the teratoma. So components of ectoderm like epithelium, endoderm like the glands, mesoderm like muscle, bone, cartilage can be seen in these types of teratomas. The maturity is very. You can have the mature, well-differentiated tissue elements. All things can be identified, like bone, cartilage, muscle, gland, epithelium can be identified, or it can be very immature. Only primitive tissues can be seen. So the differentiation will vary from tumor to tumor. But all the types of teratomas, whether differentiated or undifferentiated, can metastasize. So in the first I told you, all testicular tumors are malignant. No question of benign. Whatever may be the appearance, whatever may be the histology, whatever may be the maturation, all testicular tumors are malignant. They metastasize. Coming to interstitial tumors, they can develop from Leydig cells which are present in between the tubules, or Sertoli cells which are present within the tubules. These are functioning tumors. Interstitial cell tumors, 90% of them are benign and functioning. They are benign and functioning, but they are very rare. A Leydig cell tumor masculinizes. The function of Leydig cell is secretion of testosterone. So if the Leydig cells are tumorous, they function, they produce more testosterone, and the boy becomes an infant Hercules. Infant Hercules. Age will be less, but the body will be Herculean. So he has developed all the muscles, all masculine characteristics, etc. A Sertoli cell tumor feminizes. The function of the Sertoli cell is nourish the developing spermatids. It will nourish the developing spermatids. So it is a female-like function. So Sertoli cell tumor feminizes. The boy develops hypogonadism. The boy develops the gynecomastia. Female body habitus will develop. These tumors are small, well circumscribed, and they have a yellow cut surface. Approximately 10% of these tumors are malignant, 90% are benign and functioning, only 10% few cases are malignant. Interstitial cell tumors, Leydig cell tumors, they develop in the pre-pubertal age group. So the boy becomes, because of testosterone secretion, in infantile Hercules. Post-pubertal tumors are mostly Sertoli cell tumors. There will be feminizing hormones leading to gynecomastia and female body habits. Now coming to the clinics, clinical features. Can present as manifestation
Please keep quiet.
So coming to the clinical features, testicular tumors can present as scrotal manifestation or they can present with metastasis. No signs will be seen in the scrotum, but metastasis will be seen. The scrotal presentations are, it can present as a painless testicular lump, slowly growing painless testicular lump. The patient may complain of a sensation of heaviness. He may have certain discomfort and feel the dragging and have the sensation of heaviness because the testis enlarges 2 to 3 times normal size. The minority of people present with pain or discomfort. And sometimes, luckily, an episode of trauma calls attention to the swelling. Though the trauma has not got anything to do with the tumor, it only draws the attention for examination of the scrotum. So you can find the enlargement of the testis and find the tumor. It can simulate epididymoarthritis and it can mimic testicular torsion. So tumor can mimic testicular torsion because of the pain, acute pain resulting from hemorrhage into the tumor. Acute pain will be there. Either to asymptomatic, patient becomes symptomatic, and when you examine, you find a enlargement of the testis. Some people, the testicular tumor within the testis will be small and they may present with metastatic disease. They can present as intra-abdominal disease, abdominal or lumbar pain, a mass in the epigastrium. Patient complains epigastric pain or lumbar pain. When you palpate the abdomen, you can find a mass in the epigastrium, which is retroperitoneal, which is nodular, and which is not moving. So a retroperitoneal nodular mass in the epigastrium can be found. And when you investigate, you can find a small focus in the testis. And they can present as lung metastasis. Usually these lung metastases are silent, and when they become symptomatic, patient complains of chest pain, dyspnea, and hemoptysis in the late stages. They can present as dyspnea, breathlessness, and they can present as hemoptysis. And when you do take a chest X-ray, you can see multiple cannonball secondaries will be seen. And when you investigate this case, you can find a small focus in the testis. In these cases, the primary tumor may not have been noticed by the patient. Indeed, may be so tiny that it can be detected only on ultrasonography. When you search for the primary, you can find a small focus in the testis on ultrasound, not even clinical examination, only on ultrasound examination. And on clinical examination of the scrotum, you can find a enlargement of the testis, or the size of the mass may be so small that testis appears normal in size. There can be a secondary hydrocele. When the testis is enlarged, the epididymis is difficult to feel because it has been stretched out on the enlarged testis. So you can feel only one thing, enlarged mass, and you cannot feel the epididymis because it is stretched. And when you palpate the cord, the vas is never thickened. So the thickening of the vas is seen in tuberculous epididymoarthritis because of the development of multiple subepithelial tubercles. So here the vas is never thickened. This is called as sign of vas. When the tumor is, when the swelling, supposed swelling in the scrotum is extending along the spermatic cord, you get a doubt whether it is inflammatory, tuberculous inflammatory, or a malignancy. In such cases, you can take help of this sign. If the vas is thickened and beaded, it is tuberculosis. The vas is not thickened, it is tumor. And rectal examination is normal. In tuberculosis, rectal examination reveals the craggy, enlarged seminal vesicles, whereas here, seminal vesicles are not affected. And in 5% of the people, gynecomastia will be found, especially in non-seminomatous germ cell tumors. And when you search for the metastasis with special investigations, you may find the foci in the abdomen or in the lungs. In 1 to 2% of the cases, the tumor is bilateral by the time of the diagnosis. So testicular enlargement will be there, secondary hydrocele will be there, sign of vas will be not affected on examination of the scrotum in testicular tumor cases. Investigation, most important investigation, ultrasound examination. It will confirm your diagnosis. It will show you the foci present in the intratesticular substance. And at the same time, you can assess the contralateral testis also. And this examination is mandatory in suspected case of testicular tumors. In the olden days, when ultrasound was not there, the dictum is whenever you suspect testicular malignancy and when you cannot decide, when you cannot exclude malignancy in testicular enlargement, the dictum is explore the scrotum, bisect the testis, and search with naked eye for any tumor. Nowadays, this step has been taken over by the ultrasound examination. There is no need for scrotal exploration. You can clearly see the testis. You can clearly see the Doppler examination for vascularity using the ultrasound to diagnose or to overrule the testicular tumors. So this ultrasound examination will show you the clear-cut mass here. So this is normal testicular substance. This is quite different here. It shows the tumor. Here you can see the clear-cut tumor present within the substance of the testis. The testis appear normal in size, but you have got a tumor inside. So ultrasound is very useful investigation. Coming to staging of the tumor. For staging, you can take the help of imaging like CT abdomen, CT chest, X-ray chest, ultrasound examination, etc. And also you can take the help of the markers. Staging in essential step in planning management. The rise in alpha-fetoprotein is seen in 50 to 70% of cases of non-seminomatous germ cell tumors. And a rise in HCG, human chorionic gonadotrophin, is seen in 40 to 60% of non-seminomatous tumors and 30% of seminomas. Pure seminomas do not secrete HCG. Seminomas having foci of embryonal cell carcinoma and choriocarcinoma, they secrete the human chorionic gonadotrophin. So by estimating these tumor markers, they will help you in diagnosing the nature of the tumor, seminoma or mixed seminoma or non-seminomatous tumor. Second, the basal levels will tell you after orchidectomy whether you have removed the tumor completely or not. If there is residual tumor, there will be persistence of these tumor markers in the body. And if the secondaries are already there in the lymph nodes or in the lungs, these tumor markers will persist. So after orchidectomy, if the tumor markers are persisting, means there is some residual tissue in the body, either in the scrotum or in the lymph nodes or in the lungs. So they help you to diagnose the type of tumor as well as clearance of the tumor after treatment. They are taken prior to orchidectomy for basal level, and after orchidectomy also they will be estimated after a week, because Their half-lives are very short. AFP 5 to 7 days, HCG 2 to 3 days. So in the second week, if you again re-estimate the markers, if they are cleared, that means you have done the job. If they are present, you have to search for the residual tissues. And you can take the help of imaging. Chest X-ray shows classical cannonball metastasis. Rounded ball-like metastases are seen or present in the lungs. Because the chest X-ray is a two-dimensional view, only we can see a circle. If it is a three-dimensional, like in CT scan, you can see the ball-like thing. If there is any doubt about the chest X-ray, you can go for CT chest and abdomen for detecting metastatic disease and for monitoring the response to therapy. After chemotherapy, you can subject the patient for repeated CT, abdomen and chest to find any residual tumor or recurrence of the tumor. So this chest X-ray showing multiple cannonball secondaries. Here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So multiple cannonballs are present. Staging of the tumors, TNM staging can be adopted or simple clinical staging can also be adopted. The clinical stages are stage 1, the tumor is confined to the testis. Stage 2, there is nodal disease, but the nodes are confined to below the diaphragm. Only subdiaphragmatic nodes are enlarged. Stage 3, nodal disease is present also above the diaphragm, below and also above the diaphragm. That is, mediastinal nodes are also present. Stage 4 is non-lymphatic metastatic disease within the lungs. Extra lymph nodal tissues like lungs and liver are affected in stage 4. Now coming to the treatment. So how do you how do you confirm the diagnosis of testicular tumor? This is only done by orchidectomy. So you cannot do the FNAC from the scrotum, and you cannot do the punch biopsy, or you cannot do the incisional biopsy. All these routine methods of biopsy are contraindicated in this testicular tumor because of danger of opening the alternative lymphatic pathway. If you cut through the scrotal skin, the tumor will enter into the scrotal lymphatics, go to the inguinal lymph nodes. So to avoid this dangerous complication of inguinal lymphadenopathy, we don't do these routine methods of biopsy. So on ultrasound says there is a suspicious tumor in the testis, then you have to go for high orchidectomy. High orchidectomy means the testis is retrieved through the inguinal canal, not through the scrotum, through the inguinal canal. High orchidectomy must be done, and the specimen has to be subjected for biopsy. This is the only way that you can obtain the testicular tissue for biopsy, high orchidectomy. If the ultrasound says there is no focus in the testicular substance, so orchidectomy and scrotal exploration are avoided in these unfortunate patients. How do you do this? High orchidectomy. This is done via an inguinal incision. The inguinal canal is opened. When the canal is opened, the spermatic cord is displayed. Don't do all the dissections and pull out the testis. Nicely open the canal, gently separate the spermatic cord at the internal ring and apply a soft clamp, either bulldog clamp or a umbilical tape is gently applied and tightened to stop the dissemination of malignant cells along the lymphatics. You block the lymphatics. Then pull out the testis through the inguinal route and examine it with naked eye and bisect the testis nicely and look for the tumor. If the tumor is there, you take the biopsy and do the orchidectomy. If the tumor is not there, then you can reconstruct the tunica albuginea and preserve the testis. So this is called as high orchidectomy done through the inguinal canal. So coming to the treatment, so at the same time of obtaining the testis for biopsy, you have done the orchidectomy. So the primary has been removed. Now the remaining treatment is about the metastasis in the lymph nodes and about the metastasis in the lungs. Testis has already been removed. So what to do when the testicular biopsy confirms the malignancy and you have to search for the staging metastasis of the tumor by staging and you have staged it, then what to do? So in stage 1 tumors, stage 1 seminomas, the testis is already removed and the seminomas are radiosensitive. So you can use the radiation therapy to the celiac para-aortic group of lymph nodes in the abdomen. So the problem here is we are dealing with the lymph nodes, para-aortic lymph nodes. Because the tumor is radiosensitive, we can subject the patient for radiotherapy to the para-aortic lymph nodes. Or you can give platinum-based chemotherapy. Cisplatin can be used to take care of the metastasis in the lymph nodes. Two things are available for us. You can irradiate the patient or you can put him on BEP resin, platinum-based resin of chemotherapy. And now the question is, should we treat all the patients? And whom do you have to treat? Which patient you have to subject for radiotherapy and chemotherapy? That is the question in stage 1 disease. What is stage 1? Stage 1 is tumor is confined to the testis. So you have removed the testis. Then where is the necessity of giving radiotherapy and chemotherapy? So this is to get rid of the micrometastasis. Micrometastasis. They are present in 15% of stage 1 seminomas. What are these micrometastases? Small metastasis less than 0.2 mm, 0.2 mm in the lymph nodes. So lymph node will be normal in size, they are not enlarged, they are not palpable, still they harbor the tiny foci of the metastasis. So in the future, they can lead to the recurrence. So to get rid of this micrometastasis, we have to think of the treatment for the lymph nodes. So the strategy nowadays for stage 1 seminoma is, because the incidence of micrometastasis is less, so you can keep the patient under surveillance, CT and tumor marker based surveillance. So periodically, every 3 months or 6 months, you subject the patient for tumor marker estimation. If the tumor markers are elevated, then you do the CT scanning of the abdomen, and if the lymph nodes are enlarged, then you can confirm the micrometastasis has leading to the recurrence of the tumor, then give chemotherapy for the patients, or you can give radiotherapy of the patients. So keep them under surveillance, and if necessary, when the necessity arises, you give the chemotherapy. Stage 1, non-seminomatous tumors. The difference here is they are not radiosensitive, so you cannot give radiotherapy, no use. But they are sensitive to combination chemotherapy, BEP chemotherapy, bleomycin, etoposide, and cisplatin you can give. And here the problem is there is more incidence of micrometastasis in teratomas. Seminomas, it is up to 15%. In teratomas, it is up to 30%. So more chances of recurrence in case of one teratomas. So what to do with these people? Either you can give chemotherapy or you can divide these patients into good prognosis patients or low risk patients and high risk patients. What is this high risk patient? So if the pathologist on studying the histology of the tumor says the cells are high grade, there are foci of choriocarcinoma, foci of embryonal carcinoma, and there is of the capsule, and there is vascular invasion. The tumor cells are seen in the arteries, veins, and lymphatics. That is vascular invasion. So it is a very dangerous point, and these are the tumors likely to have more incidence of micrometastasis and more chances of recurrence. And high risk cases. So you segregate, you divide the patients into two groups, low risk and high risk cases. You can give chemotherapy for high risk cases and keep the low risk patients under surveillance. So this can be done. Or if you don't want to take risk, yes, you can give the chemotherapy for all the people. So this is how you manage the stage 1 non-seminomatous germ cell tumors. They are not radiosensitive. Then the remaining stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. There is no question. Already you have removed the testes and the lymph nodes are positive. There is no confusion here. Every patient has to be subjected for chemotherapy, BEP chemotherapy, bleomycin, etoposide, and cisplatin chemotherapy has to be given. After completing the course of this chemotherapy, again you reassess the retroperitoneal lymph nodal status. If the lymph nodes have completely disappeared, there is no problem. If they are still remaining, residual tumor is there, you have to plan for retroperitoneal lymph node dissection, especially in case of non-seminomatous tumors or teratomas. It is possible, you can plan for retroperitoneal lymph node dissection, but the operation is very formidable, very difficult. Number of vessels are in the peritoneum. The kidney ureters are there, the aorta major vessels are there, so very difficult to do the retroperitoneal lymph node. And this also have a lot of complications, bleeding, retrograde ejaculation are also there. So this is how we manage the testicular tumors. Stage 1 sarcoma, chemotherapy or surveillance. Stage 1 teratoma, chemotherapy for high risk, surveillance for the low cases. Remaining stage 4, chemotherapy has to be given for the lymph nodal status because already the primary has. Now prognosis depends on histological type of the tumor and clinical presentation. There are no metastasis, that is stage 1 tumor, 90 to 95 years survival is expected. And lymph nodes are present, the 5-year survival goes down to 70%. For non-seminomatous tumors, a little less. For good prognosis tumors, 90%. More advanced tumors is 60%. So even though they are highly malignant, tumors are diagnosed early and treated efficiently. The 5-year survival rate is very much 95%. The word and testimonials in children, they are plastic teratomas. They occur before the age of 3 years, often rapidly fatal. So all these tumors occur in infants. They are highly malignant. They are teratomas, and mostly they are choriocarcinomas and embryonal carcinomas, which are highly malignant.
నా ఫోన్
They can be benign mesotheliomas, malignant sarcomas, secondary carcinomas. They are extremely rare. They present as non-cystic lump in epididymis. So epididymal swellings, localized epididymal swellings are usually cystic. Abscess in epididymis or cyst of the epididymis or seminomas. If they feel solid, you must suspect tumors. Take the patient for investigation. With this, the important chapter of tumors of the testis is over. If you have any queries, anybody can ask. Any queries, please speak to me. Yes. There are no queries. Thank you. We'll stop at this point. Thank you.